Greetings, Joe fans. I'm Christopher Logan Hilt, the G.I. Joe Gamer. And today, on Joe Takes number 20, we're going to be talking about Duke from the Hilt. I wanted to do a special video on the 20th Joe Takes, so we're going to jump right in and we're going to start looking at figures. Now, this is one of those that when I broke him out to put him on the battle stand, he had an ankle mishap, and since I've been doing these, this is the second time it's happened to me, so I kind of feel kind of lucky. I've seen a lot of other people have other issues, and I do like this Duke figure. Now, I don't know why the classified figure doesn't come with a helmet. Pretty much all the Dukes had a helmet. There was one in '93 that had a helmet that couldn't come off. That was one of the better looking Duke figures, but of the vintage line. But I didn't like it because the helmet didn't come off, and it kind of made his head look a little wonky. And I had the one in '92, so I didn't bother. But this Duke figure, it comes with the binoculars and the same gun that Stalker came with. That was I think that was their typical field leader issue rifle at the time when G.I. Joe first started. I know, that's my headcanon probably. And it came with a backpack with the spade in it, the entrenching tool. So there is the vintage Duke. Pop his helmet back on. Okay. Now, like I said, I did have the Tiger Force Duke that came out in 1988. That was the same figure, just repainted and remolded in a different plastic, colored plastic. And he had brown hair, and I had that one, but I basically used that figure for parts because I like the original Duke better. I just did. And like I've said before, I think when you do that as a kid, you do a lot of things like that. But I did pick up this Duke, and this one had a different issue altogether. Its weapons were made from such a cheap plastic that even the I think it was a bipod for the rocket launcher this character came with. We do have some artwork that's going to be in the end of the video that was in the on Joe Takes 20 video that I'm going to have at the end of this video, because this is Joe Takes 20. But it shows his file card. I don't know if it... I may have got the artwork for this one too. But he's sitting on the cannon, and I always thought that looked really funny. But this figure is actually really good. And this is the one they had in the Deke cartoon. But, yeah, they drew him okay in the Deke cartoon, but it was the Deke cartoon. Now, this one they didn't use in the comics. They kind of skipped this one and went right to the one after, because in the comics, that was a better looking uniform. And this one, this kind of, it's his desert camo, but with the reddish orange that's on there, I don't know, it's kind of a really, I don't know what color of red you would call that. It's almost kind of pink, but it was okay. I still like the original vintage Duke better, but that's how it is. So I do have some carded examples now. They did one for the retro line that just came out not too long ago for the Walmart exclusive retro line. And this was as far as I'm concerned, the screaming Duke with his mouth wide open. I have one in and out of the package. I had one in and out of the package for all of these. I actually had two Stalkers. That one became really easy to come by. I don't know why. But a lot of people say this is the one where he's taking a dump. But it's supposed to be him shouting, "Yo, Joe," but that's not what it looks like. The card art is still really nice, but then they fumbled on the file card with the cheap 5-language file cards. I don't really care for, but there's that one. And then I do have the Tiger Force Duke in the 25th anniversary line, and it's a pretty good figure. It definitely looked better than the original. And I don't remember whether he had the blonde hair or not, or if they made his hair brown like the Tiger Force one. But we definitely will be looking at some of that kind of stuff here today too with the classified. I've got both of the Duke figures for the classified, so that's going to be pretty fun to look at. So there's his file card. Again, it's going to be at the end, in the end bits here when I do show off the art and the file cards. It's kind of cool. I picked up this one too. This is the one I really like from the modern line. It comes with this really cool stand and the flag. And this is the one. It's like supposed to be from G.I. Joe the movie, where he flies up onto the Statue of Liberty and plants the flag. So it's pretty cool. I do like this one a lot. Now, that takes us to the classified box art. Now, of course, it had the standard back, and he was number 4 in the line. And there's the box. Good artwork. I like this one. I have that a better shot of that in the end bits. Interesting box, and I'm gonna hang on to this a little bit over here because I'm looking look at this other box that I have for a Duke figure, and this one happens to be number 40 in the line, and I thought it was really interesting, and this is why I kept this over here, is because if you look at it, you've got 04, 0, and 40. I thought that was really an interesting coincidence, if it's a coincidence. It's kind of cool that they did it that way. But then you got the box art. Now, I get a lot of people don't like the art on the box. I'm really digging it. And I like the fact that they put the picture of the figure there. Now, I don't like the ones where they have a picture of the figure on there. They're like Shipwreck. And to me, that was weird. Because, this is my favorite picture of Duke that they have on box art. And I really dig that, and that was the thumbnail for On Joe Takes 20. So I had a good shot of that one, and I scanned that one, so I was able to get a really good scan of it and put it up. Now this is the look at the Tiger Force Ram. Now when I take a look at Breaker, I'll compare the two bikes, and I'll be doing that in just a few weeks. I don't remember. I've got them all scheduled and what I'm going to be doing for quite a while. And so that's the box art for Duke. And then we'll look at the classified figure. Now, I'm pretty sure this was the original because it has the gold on it. I know they did a repaint. Fix his head there. That covered up the gold. So I actually am glad I got the original because I don't know, I like the gold, and everybody complains about the Joe Pros, but I like them. Now the gun is my issue, and it's kind of warped and bent when it was in the box, and I've heated it and done all that stuff, and it just doesn't want to straighten out. And then you got the backpack with the entrenching tool, not exactly the same as the vintage, but it's very similar. So I'll compare them a little bit together there. It's similar but not the same. I think this was actually Airborne's backpack that just redone, if I remember correctly. But he's got the sidearm. And, he didn't come with a combat knife. But he does have binoculars on his belt. They're little. Let me take the backpack off so you get a better look. But those come off. And so he did come with a pair of binoculars. They were more modern. And, of course, I had to drop something. What kind of Joe Takes can we have without dropping an accessory? So let me grab that real quick. But we'll put it back on. And we'll set him aside because we are going to look at what I consider to be the superior classified Duke, and that would be the opposite of the original, because I didn't care much for the Tiger Force Duke in the vintage line, but this Tiger Force Duke, to me, the kickstand, I like the way that works too. You don't really need it. It just keeps it from moving around when you're trying to do things, and I forgot to put that up when I was filming on Joe Takes 20. That's the funny part. But this Duke, the Tiger Force Ram is pretty cool. I mean, some of the color choices, like the red on the gun, I would have rather that it was black, Doesn't stay together very well. But neither did the original one that came with Breaker. But we'll take him off here so we can get a better look at this Duke figure. But we'll take a better look at the Ram cycle, the Tiger Force Ram without it. Now, those teeth, that's kind of cool. I like the black windshield. Again, I think they should have done the handlebars in black as well. The red, just, I'm not digging it. It's not bad. It's just, I don't know. I think black would have been a better color. So, you can get a good look at that. I do like on the original Ram, the controls. And I did like that the handlebars were adjustable and you could move them around quite a bit. And it didn't move much this way, but the wheels move pretty good, and they're decent tires, and it's hefty. It's not a cheap toy. I did like the fact that it wasn't a cheap toy. The black seat is nice. Sidecar, just like the original Ram, looks good. It's a nice toy. Now, I was looking more forward to having the Ram, but I have to admit, this Duke figure is pretty good. I'm going to straighten him out here before I show you up here on the screen for you. Now, first and foremost, this Duke, the gun, they fixed it. Okay, that's the fix that I really, really like about these two figures. Now, I don't know what the problem was, but I know this is Stocker's gun. This was Stocker's gun too, so that doesn't bother me at all. I'm glad they gave him the Stocker's gun. It's decent. The clip comes out, or the magazine, I should say. It's a clip. The clips are inside the magazine, actually. But we're in the realm of make-believe at this point, right? Pistol again. I did like the tiger stripes on this particular Duke, not the original. The colors on this one are better. The hair is blonde like it's supposed to be. This is just a superior Duke figure to this one. Just about in every way, shape, or form. The only thing I like about this one is the colors are is more like the vintage. In some ways, and in some ways not. But good. I like the new Duke. He's pretty cool. Again, he's not in my top 10. Duke's a good character. Not one of my extreme favorites. My least favorite of the leaders. You know what? I actually think maybe I like Duke a little better than the Falcon, so I can't say he's my least favorite leader. But of the sergeants, yep, I would say that Duke is my least favorite G.I. Joe field leader sergeant. Now, I know they always had Duke leading in the cartoon. Didn't lead much in the comics in the field. He did it first. Now, there are some really good ones, and I'll be looking at the comics here in a bit, and I'll be talking about that a little bit here in a minute. But this Duke, I don't know. It works for me. And again, it has the little binoculars on the back, which you can hardly see there, but you can still see them. But again, the major fix, I don't know why they didn't have him come with a gun like this when he first came out. I know they were going for something when they first brought him out. So that futuristic type feel to it, and they were trying to do their own thing, but I don't think they realized what they were dealing with. They were dealing with fans that wanted Joe's to look more like the vintage. And they were starting a new collection, and here we got all these new figures, and the only one that looked remotely, well, I have to say, I can't say that, because they all kind of remotely look like the original vintage. You had Roadblock as the first one. I know that Snake Eyes was in the deluxe one first, but it was way, I don't have that one, and it's way different than the number 2 figure that came out. That was Snake Eyes as well, and then Destro was number 3, and Scarlet was 5, and Duke was 4. Those were your first wave of the classified figures, and they did okay with the original wave. That's what actually I bought the original wave, and that's what got me to start getting the rest of them. So it was kind of cool. I wasn't sure. The first one I got was Roadblock, ironically, and I had Roadblock. That was Roadblock. It was the only one I had for a long time, and then I got the Scarlet figure, and I wasn't sure whether I was going to collect them or not yet. But one day I had them out, and I was messing with them to see if I was going to collect them, and I put Scarlet on Roadblock's shoulders, and I was like, okay, I'm done. These figures pose really well, and I left them like that for a good 2 weeks, with Scarlet just sitting on her legs behind his back, and him carrying her legs, and I should have taken a picture. I really should have, but I didn't. I might set it up again someday, but that was kind of cool. But it led me to get Snake Eyes and then Destro and Duke, and so that takes us to the comic by Larry Hama, Marvel Comics. Now, this is one of the coolest covers they did back then. But it's really the only one that I could find a good shot of Duke in his original uniform. Now, there's a few others, but the coloration is off. It's kind of weird. And I looked through the whole series earlier before I picked this one out. And it was the first one. I went, yeah, okay, that's really the first. That's the first Duke that I found, and I'm like, I knew it. I was like, I'm going to go back, and this is going to be the one I'm going to show off, because I went through the whole series, and way later on in the late almost the last few, they had Duke in that 93 uniform that I don't have, with the helmet that doesn't come off, because in the comics that worked really good, and they had a few of him on that, but they weren't really that great. This is actually the best cover of the comics, in my opinion, with Duke on, and this is the issue where they had taken Cobra Commander prisoner in the issue before. This one, I do like this one with Clutch and Roadblock and Duke. This was really Duke's first mission as leader, and they captured Cobra Commander, and then they had him up on this mountain, and they assembled the original G.I. Joe headquarters and called it their prefab fortress. It was kind of cool. They ended up having a Skyhawk in here, and Storm Shadow actually showed up and rescued Cobra Commander. And then Storm Shadow, man, the Joes tried to stop him, and Gung Ho was the first one to come in contact with him, and he just cut Gung Ho down, and Gung Ho nearly died. It's kind of cool, but Roadblock came up, and he put a hurting on Storm Shadow. Once he got a hold of Storm Shadow, it was over. It was the whole Expendables, Dolph Lundgren versus Jet Li thing. Jet Li was whooping his butt, and then Dolph Lundgren got one hit in, and it was pretty much over. That was the same situation going on here, and so Roadblock, when they took him to Alcatraz after this, Roadblock didn't, Storm Shadow didn't mess with Roadblock at all. He waited until he was alone, and then he just escaped. It was pretty cool, but he's a ninja. Of course, he escaped. I don't know why they thought they could contain him. Some of my favorite memories with Duke in the comics were those two issues back to back. He was like covered ops, and him and Roadblock were sitting in a restaurant, and Roadblock was complaining about the food, and Duke was talking about it's so serious and not ignoring everything Roadblock was saying about the food and everything. He wasn't ignoring him, but he was paying more attention to the mission, because he knew that Roadblock was also paying attention to the mission. Roadblock was one of his buddies from their previous unit, and so was Flint, and he brought Roadblock with him, and then he brought Flint over too. So really cool stuff in the comics. And Duke had his moments in the comics, but it really wasn't his series. It was more Hawk's series. And I know a lot of people may disagree with me on that point, but Hawk was really the leader. Now, for a while there, Duke came and took over. But once Hawk was the general again, Larry Hama, it was Hawk's show pretty much till the end. Even the last cover didn't have Duke on it, and they were closing the pit. And Duke was, as far as I could see, if he was in it, it was his back or something, and it wasn't really a good cover image, even if he was on it. But I don't think he was. To me, this was the best cover of G.I. Joe with Duke, at least in the Marvel era. I'm not so sure about the Sunbow era. I mean, not Sunbow, the IDW era, because I've got some of those, and I may do a video where I look at the whole comic book series. In fact, I am going to be doing a video here coming up. I've been doing these D&D and Me and AD&D and Me, and next week I'm going to do like Endless Quest and Me, Endless Quest books and Me, and then the week after that I'm going to do G.I. Joe and Me, and I decided I'm going to look at all the comics that I have. I've got 3 of these full. I've got this one here that has all the vintage that I have. I'm the vintage. I keep calling it vintage because that's the way the figures go too. But no, this is the Marvel run, and then I have Special Missions and some of the newer ones from Image and Devil's Due, and then I have I started some. I got an IDW box too, and I have some of those. But I mostly have for the IDW trade paperbacks. I did have a subscription to it for a while, but I don't remember really Duke being as prominent of a character as maybe he should have been, based on his popularity. But Larry Hama, he did take a liking to Duke later on, but I think at first he was kind of like, well, I already have Hawk, but I also really think Larry Hama preferred to tell the story from the enlisted man's perspective. But it's my opinion. As far as the comics are concerned, though, as the series progressed, Duke was delegated to just sending people into the field, and he didn't really lead a lot of missions. Well, then there's the Sunbow cartoon. He was the leader in the first one. He was the leader in the first miniseries, and in the second miniseries, and then the first season. And then Hawk came on for the second season, and it was still kind of Duke. I mean, Hawk was more in the second season, but Hawk wasn't in it before that because they didn't use him. They had Duke, and that was pretty cool. And I've talked about the way I like the command structure in that, and I see it as that Duke is Hawk's NCO, and when Hawk's not there, Duke is the leader of G.I. Joe. And so he was the acting field commander in the cartoon. He was originally the acting first sergeant, but I'm sure at some point they solidified that position. And Hawk always had Flint serving as his XO. Even Larry Hama was saying that at some point, if I remember right. I could be wrong on that. But it did say that he served as the XO of the Joe team for quite a while, which means he was the second in command, the executive officer. And Beachhead was his NCO. But four of them, they even laid that out in Arise, Serpento Arise, where Beachhead, Flint was saying that Beachhead was getting the chain of command down. And Flint was saying first comes Hawk, then Duke, then me, and finally you. And then they added Sergeant Slaughter to the mix by the end of that miniseries. But for the most part, I kind of see it that Duke is Hawk's senior NCO. So he is their first shirt. Which is why he can be in charge without when Hawk's not there. So that's the way I envision it, and that's the way I see it. So that's my take on the rank and structure of G.I. Joe. But I did want to mention some of the comics. I mean, not the comics, the Sunbow cartoon that I really liked. Duke was a prominent character in that series. Battle for the Train of Gold was a good one. Actually, that was more of a gung-ho episode, but Duke was featured prominently in the beginning, and he had blown up kind of by Major Blood and left. Everybody thought he's dead, but he got up, and Duke was always getting hurt in the cartoon. One of my least favorite things about Duke was the fact that he was either out of commission, in a coma, or something. Duke was always, oh no, Duke's hurt, so somebody else has to take charge. And in Revenge of Cobra, when he got captured, Flint took over. In the original series, when he got captured by Cobra and was gone for a bit, Scarlet and Stalker kind of took over. In some instances, Stalker seemed to be in charge, and others, Scarlet seemed to be in charge. The cartoon was never really clear on the chain of command until the second season of the series. In the first season, it was Duke and Flint, and that's pretty much it. I mean, occasionally they'd have other Joes lead, but Duke was definitely the commanding officer in the cartoon. There was never any doubt about that. Let me see if I can think of my favorite episode with Duke. I have to say it's the Menace of the Mass Device. In spite of the fact that he got captured and he wasn't really in a coma, but he was unconscious when they found him, and then it took him a while to come around and stuff. But his was really the coolest adventure in that miniseries. Some of the coolest interactions with Cobra was between Cobra and Duke. So, Menace of the Mass Device. I did like 20 Questions, although Duke only showed up at the end. Which Hector Ramirez came up and kissed him on the cheek. He was just standing there aghast, like he couldn't even speak. And that was the one time I ever saw Duke at a loss for words. And the other one I really liked was the one. It was Excalibur, which was where him and Flint were off looking for Quick Kick, Footloose, and Spirit, and they were out on their own. And my cat is invading my video again, but the interaction between Duke and Flynn, and that is definitely my favorite Duke moment, really. And pretty much anything Flynn asked for, he would get, and Duke would just react to it like, this is ridiculous. But it was fun to watch, and so I could talk G.I. Joe all night, but that's pretty much my take on Duke. And with that all being said, Logan out. Now, before I go, I did want to mention next week that I'm doing Tomax and Zamo from the Hill, so we'll be looking forward to that. And Luna had to get on camera, so here she is. But take it easy.
It's time. It's time for me to rise above the superstitious game, hit above the minds that have no skills and always stay the same. I'm on the grind to speak that real and stack up on my chain, so no matter what you say to me, cause it's time for me to rise above the superstitious game, hit above the minds that have no skills and always stay the same. I'm on the grind to speak that real and stack up on my chain, so no matter what you say to me, I'm gonna do my thing. I'm on the grind and every day I hustle for my dough. One of them up just for a buck to put it up in the flow. Get my foot up in the door, it's only the beginning. I ain't never gonna stop in this race, I know I'm winning. Cause A&R's and everybody's gonna feel this track like I squeezed one in your chest and stole your ass cap. As a matter of fact, to my fans my rap is crack, fiending for another line to drop up out my sack. Slacks and lacks don't make a difference in this game, but you gotta sell an image if you wanna make a name. I don't consider myself to be a link in the chain, cause I'm the one who holds the torch and light to the flame. Segregation of our nation, revelations is here. Trials and tribulations that we facing is clear. The end of the world is coming closer by the ear, so you better clean your act, judgment day is coming near. It's time for me to rise above the superstitious game, hit above the minds that have no skills and always stay the same. I'm on the grind to speak that real and stack up on my chain, so no matter what you say to me, I'm gonna do my thing. Cause it's time for me to rise above the superstitious game, hit above the minds that have no skills and always stay the same. I'm on the grind to speak that real and stack up on my chain, so no matter what you say to me, I'm gonna do my thing.
Run up the flagpole, put it on down with a shipping that skill that'll make them meals. With an axe pack and truck to make them meals. With a get up on my back just to make them kills. Put up on the pole to the top of the game with a little bit of drip just to call me a name. As I hop in the flames on a drop on the pain, but the real is young, might not be the same. Ain't too much for me to slow it down, I've been through it. I knew the day would come when I would just have to do it. Influenced by the highest power, knowledge itself. Imbued with psychopathic tendencies for my health, so I apply to knock them down. Gotta see what it do.